Thank you for joining us for today's event. So, yep, today's event titled Gentrification, the Story, an in-person workshop and video game deep dive with PhD researcher Christian Scott. And to help situate you, we are streaming to YouTube live from Fourspace. We're located here on unceded Indigenous lands in Tiohtià:ke, Montreal. And at Fourspace, we work with our university community to mobilize knowledge by co-creating daily activities to examine research questions and projects in development here at the university. And also, you're welcome to probably come up to the table and join. But with that, it is my pleasure now to hand this over to Ariana Severiades, Head of Communications and key player in this Commons Media residency.
Thank you. Okay, so today we're doing an activity that's going to be led by Christian Scott. Christian is a PhD student in the Indie program and a member of the Technoculture Art Games Resource Center, tag at Milieu. This project is called Gentrification, the Story. It's a sense-making public forum, an archive and repository of lived experiences and an urban game about gentrification, set in Park Extension neighborhood of Montreal. So yeah, without further ado, let's start with the activity.
Okay, perfect. No echoes. Hello, everyone. So yeah, my name is Christian Scott. I'm going to be showing you this little game that I made. It's a prototype about urban change and stories and narrative. We're a small group, though I'm going to talk as if there is like an audience online for later on so that we can like record it. So first of all, let's play. So I have an activity to kickstart the workshop. So I'm handing you folks a piece of paper, and here are some like pens, stilos, etc. Yeah, so the prompt, we're gonna have 3 or 4 or 5 minutes to draw by memory our neighborhood. It could be the neighborhood that we live in right now, or the neighborhood that you grew up in, or a neighborhood that you lived in for 2 days while traveling somewhere. Use as much or as little detail as you wish. So let's start wrapping it up. Let's have 1 more minute. Okay, so final touches before we move on. Okay. Yeah, so thank you, folks. Let's continue. Yeah, so gentrification, the story, it's this website-based game archive, story repository. I'm gonna show you in the coming minutes why I designed the game, what was the excuse, what was like the design problem, what was the design solution. And what I ask you right now to do is just like a classic exercise of emotional mapping. So basically asking people to draw by memory the place that they live, or, places, attachment to places and memory of places. I want to show mine, and then I'm going to ask you optionally to show and share yours. So maybe I'm going to go to the camera. Oh, cool. Thank you. Yeah, so I draw the neighborhood of Petit Laurier. It's the neighborhood that is like in the Plateau Montreal area, close to Parc Laurier. I lived there this summer, so I subletted a furnished apartment from a friend as I was returning back to Montreal. I spent a lot of time there in like chilling in the balconies, but also just like walking in the streets, walking in the alleyways. Through time, I made some friends. So as I was working or looking, looking at people in the cafes, conversations emerged. And eventually I made friends that invited me to their like balconies or terraces in other houses. So I made like a little smiley in the places where I like made friends. So yeah, in the summer I made like 3 new friends that now I know where they live. No, I also draw this little like kitty thing. So yeah, often I would return home walking through the same routes, and I knew that certain cats live in certain areas of the alleyways, or at certain times they will be out while their like companions would be like having dinner. No? I also draw kind of like certain milestones, like Café Or. I went just a few times, but I really liked it. This is my drawing for the park. So like a tree to signify that it's like a green area. and some of the little like roads intersections that I mostly used. So the baseball park and the area around the fountain, where like some benches are laid around with the streaming little pathways that take you to Laurier Avenue. It's curious now, I noticed that I didn't like draw the metro or the intersection of Saint Denis, etc. And that I actually, out of perspective, I drew the mountain. So I remember just like seeing the mountain in the distance every time that I took some streets like Saint Joseph or Mont Royal. I also drew the water. I knew that the water is kind of like down this way and like in a downhill where I used to go with my bicycle. Is anyone who wants to share their neighborhood drawing? English, French is okay also. Also, please feel free to like speak in whatever language you want, ask questions if translation is needed.
Je peux le voir en français?
Oui, s'il te
Ok,
plaît.
je peux le Je vais montrer mon dessin à la caméra. Ouais.
Je peux la
ok.
tenir.
Ok.
Aha.
Ok, donc
ça.
j'ai dessiné, oui, le quartier où je suis née, qui est Limoilou à Québec. C'est vraiment mon endroit préféré dans le monde. Donc j'ai noté l'endroit où mes amis habitent autour, les endroits que je préfère, donc la piste cyclable, le fleuve, la pétanque, la patinoire, la piscine, les jeux. C'est tous des souvenirs qui m'importent, des endroits qui me rappellent des bons souvenirs. Et aussi, un endroit où je me suis fait mordre par un chien. Donc, j'ai marqué danger. Donc, voilà.
Merci beaucoup.
Okay, so me, so this is my neighborhood in La Petite Italie. Yeah, so basically what I draw is like similar to you. Like I draw my friend's house that is near me, the library where my other friends work that is on the corner, my cat that's always in the ruelle, then the park that it's near the chemin de fer. I don't know how to say that, but it's like yeah. It's there and I'm always go there for a run. And I drew like the tents because there's people living there. And then they're also building behind because it was like pretty like an industrial zone before. So they're building a future parking, something like that, like a parking of buses, but it's gonna be a future park. So I'm always thinking like the imaginary of what that park it's gonna be, you know, in my neighborhood. Yeah, and then the different places where I buy stuff that I love, like coffee and croissant and milanesas, you know. So yeah, that's it.
Awesome, thank you. Well, I have my own, the mic, thank you. So thanks for sharing. So we can see right away that, you know, as we spend time in like the material world, moving through space, we create memories. We meet people, we create significance. You know, we project feelings or ideas into places, and we meet people and we do things with them as we live in neighborhoods, as we move through things. So this was kind of like the premise when, for one of my PhD classes with Professor Rila Khalid, we were asked to design some sort of intermedia, analog and/or digital game or like interactive art to discuss whatever topic interests us. So I knew that I was already thinking about how memory and space are linked. And obviously the topic that is like in everyone's discussion today is like gentrification, no? Like we're being priced out, rent is increasing, it's like more difficult to find housing. So yeah, so my proposal was to create a game that was called Gentrification, the Story. An idea that I have is that in this like, oof, echo. Okay, testing. Yeah, so normally the narrative is like black and white. No, we talk about gentrification as, you know, the good tenant being kicked out by the bad landlord, or, you know, like in capitalist terms. But I was thinking, okay, what are all the nuances and all the gray zones of what's happening right now, of how Montreal is changing, particularly in the neighborhood of Park Extension, So a couple of years ago, when I designed this game, I was living in Park Extension for the first time in my life. So after living for like 12 years in Montreal in other neighborhoods, I moved there. The topic was particularly important because Park Extension is historically a neighborhood for immigrants. It has been historically a marginalized neighborhood, even kind of like secluded from the city by the train tracks or by like Acadie or by certain avenues that are difficult to cross. Like there are like only certain places to enter or exit the neighborhood compared to, let's say, the Plateau, no, that I just like drew on. Yeah, so that was part of like the background research. Okay, like what is happening in Park X, what is happening in Montreal, what are the ideas that I want to explore? So yeah, so I created Gentrification the game. I'm gonna show you this little video, just like looping around. Let me share the screen. 1 second, please. Yeah, so gentrification, the story, you know, this is, you know, you type the website and this is what you see. It's a platform to collectively make sense of the changes in Park Extension. People are invited to share their experience through stories and through missions. I'm gonna talk a little bit more about this. And the vibe of this game is, you know, like 16-bit, it looks like old, pixelated, you know, it has like sharp angle squares with like a lot of text that gives you the instructions. Since this is a prototype, this was fine with me. Obviously, as you like start polishing games, you can like make it more intuitive, etc., based on other previous, you know, experiences of the users. So yeah, basically you're given an avatar. You can like move around using your mouse. You will find like pink squares in this world that are stories, or you can create a story. You will find yellow squares that are missions, or you can create a mission. And then, okay, so what are these things? Gentrification of the game has mostly those two features. So stories, where people can share yeah, like stories that they have found in their neighborhood. So for example, Drea was talking about being bitten by a dog. That is scary. Where were you bitten? Like in what part of the body? In the leg. Did you know the dog or not?
No.
So it was like a new dog. Yeah. Yeah, that sucks. I have been bitten twice by dogs and twice in the ears.
Whoa.
What the fuck? Yeah, so this is an example. Oh yeah, please note that the stories are all real. As I was testing this game, it was co-designed in a semi-participatory way by chatting with neighbors in Park X, by consulting the certain collectives on Park X, and also by just sharing my own stories. No? So for example, this is an example. Well, to illustrate the example, here's the story by, I forgot his name. But yeah, someone that was born and raised in Park X, and I'm gonna read his story. This is a great place to be. Tons of memories of being a kid playing with my buddies. Some of them married and with kids now, gone to other places. Yeah, a lot of the immigrants that in Park X have moved on to other neighborhoods. Definitely my favorite time of year is summer, when the festivals take place outside the churches of Ogilvy Street. My sisters and brothers are planning to sell the house and move to other neighborhood though. So yeah, I forgot his name. This was a Greek person in his mid-30s, early 40s. Well, from like mid-30s to early 40s. I think that the parents had died recently. They owned the building and they were planning to just like sell it. And then, you know, like share the money among the and base themselves in other neighborhoods. Even though they were born and raised there, loved it for many reasons. And kept coming back to it, especially for the celebrations, they didn't really want to keep living there. There were many reasons that invited them to move on or that pushed them away. The game has the feature of replying to the story. So that Is this working? Okay. Dun, dun, dun. Sorry, problems with the mic. So yeah, the game has the feature to reply to the story. So by just clicking to it, we can ask users, share our comments. We can upload media. It can be like video, audio, visuals, etc. And through time, this could also become an archive. So we're not only like gossiping, venting, and sharing our life stories as they relate with a particular spot in the neighborhood. We're also archiving how life was, or what our perceptions of life in the neighborhood were. Of course, it would need like a lot of input, but still, it's an archive. So yeah, now I'm gonna show you how a mission would look like. So yeah, this is another mission that was given to me by like a neighbor as we were discussing this game over beers in the balcony. Yeah, so the mission that he wrote was, who is your grocer? Do you know the name or family history of the grocer running the family-owned store you frequent the most? I challenge you to go ask them, and if possible, take a picture of them and or their storefront. Obviously with consent, no, whatever, no, like there's so much that we can talk about, but yeah, that is an example of a mission, and the feature that it has is like upload completion. Yeah, so the game is designed not in like a gamification, you have points to win way. It's just like everyone wins, everyone shares. There's joy in participating and completing missions. Definitely, I was like speaking a lot with Professor Khalid about this, like, should we have like points, like stars, some sort of reward system? But I chose not to. This is just like the joy of doing it, it's fine. Oh.
Est-ce que je peux poser une question?
Oui, bien sûr.
OK.
Mais utilise le microphone. So Dara is going to ask a question. En français, ça va.
Je me demandais juste, tu dis qu'il n'y a pas eu de points ou d'étoiles gagnées. Quelle était comme la motivation des gens qui ont participé, où ils trouvaient leur motivation s'il n'y avait pas de reward?
Among the test users that I showed, and oh, give me a second. I'm just gonna pause this. Okay. Yeah. So among the people that I tested this game with, the motivation was just like in the joy and in the novelty. They were being asked to share their stories and or to engage with like little like funny, quirky challenges. When I spoke with most of like the old-ish resident, not old as in like age, but people that have been living there, they were just like, oh, it's interesting. I know the answer. Like, I know my grocer, blah, blah. Like, I want to participate. People more like that have been living in the neighborhood 1 or 2 years or just recently moved. It was more like, holy shit, I'm like a bit shy to start, to strike a conversation with someone, but now I am given a good excuse to like ask the grocer what his name is, or what's the family history, or like how long have they been, selling veggies in that store since, So that was the motivation. There was no game, there were no stars, no points, no prizes. Obviously, if this were to scale, or if this was to be replicated for a different community, those are things to be considered, no? Some of the theoretical baggage that I had in making this game was also the idea of, so games become strong concepts. So as we play games and as we co-create games with others, we start to make sense of things, to reflect on things. So yeah, I mean, I could have created a game with my own logics, but as we created together, logics start to emerge. So for example, the logic of competition or rewards, the logic of space being contested or not, etc. This is another example of a mission. So for example, discover your alleyway gardens. Take a walk in your block's alleyway. Do you see any edible gardens? I challenge you to take some pictures of your favorite garden. If possible, name the plants and get a picture name of the gardener behind it. Someone uploaded a completion that said, okay, Stewart and Wall. Those are like street names in Park X. The flowers in this alley The flowers in this alley, exclamation mark. Here's the garden of Mr. Costas. Lovely neighborhood. He asked me to return tomorrow to get some cuttings. So yeah, one of my good old friends, Aaron, he got a cutting from a fig tree. And that's because he was just like looking at fig trees. This old Greek man approached him and started to talk about like his life and his plans and his garden and his like life in Greece. And now they're friends. I mean, maybe they're not like best friends forever, but now they know each other. There's like a connection. There's like a common ground. And also my friend Aaron got some like fig trees, well, like cuttings. Yeah, no? Nice. Something that I was going to say before Andrea's question was, I'm just going to wait for this window to get closed. So you can see the background of this game. It's like a pixelated image. Most of the games that talk about not getting to know your neighbors or like geo-locking and pinning challenges or missions in space tend to use like the Google Map interface. We're like very used to that thing. Streets, intersections, street names. I on purpose chose to make it more of an abstract world to, in a way, symbolically reflect that everything is just a perspective. Like there are so many lived experiences contesting each other in Park X, well, in any neighborhood really. So I chose to have it more as avatars moving freely through space and being able to just drop like little squares of stories and missions wherever. The game also has an about tab. So whenever someone is playing and wants to read what this is about, there's more to be shared. Folks can click the instructions just to like refresh how to use it, or they can return to the game if needed. No? Okay, so we have 15 minutes left in this presentation. So yeah, the exercise number 2 that I'm gonna ask you to do is to write either a story or a mission, as if you were playing this game. So just like, it can be textual. Okay, a couple more seconds. Are you okay, or you need more time? No, you're good. Would you like to share them? Yes, no?
Hi. Okay. So this is a story. So I couldn't write something longer, but I went for a run to this park.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw people out of their tents for the first time, tending their clothes in an improvised rope that I was tied into trees. This is 200 meters from my house.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Toi, Adrien, tu veux parler?
J'ai juste dessiné quelque chose de plus qui est un banc où je me suis beaucoup assis quand j'habitais dans ce quartier. Et donc, j'ai juste fait la mission d'inviter les gens à s'asseoir aussi sur ce banc pour observer, parce qu'il y a vraiment beaucoup de choses différentes à observer. Et puis, ouais, juste de prendre le temps et d'apprécier.
Cool, thank you very much. Yeah, so I mean, I have shown you like the overall prototype of the game. It's an abstract world space where you can create an avatar, move around, drop missions, drop stories. I chose avatar so that people don't necessarily have to log in with their Facebook or mail accounts and have faces. There are obviously pros and cons about anonymity, but I designed it with certain values, anonymity or collaboration, etc., etc. I also wanted to show you. Give me a sec. Oh. Yeah, so I was looping this video as you were speaking. Kind of the idea was also to create an atmosphere with this game. This was part of the process was to just make a video with all the that you can see. Oh, sorry, I'm gonna share the screen again. This disconnected. Well, you can see it. Yeah, so part of the process of making it was to also play with the physical space. Before the actual game was designed, I was just creating little physical prototypes that could be used in parks to strike up conversations among people. However, it was super challenging. This was during COVID. Another thing that I learned was the cultural context. How do you design an object that is speculative, that will be used as you kind of intend for it to be used across cultures? Or, it will be used in, should it be generative and speculative to allow different uses? But in the end, I just saw that the groups of people that already knew each other were just surprised and playing with it. And it wasn't really striking conversations among strangers. So I was like, nah, fuck it. I'm gonna do something digital where I can just invite people to test and through their ideas co-create, and then continue. Wow, you can see my algorithm here of music. Okay, so what else?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, well, I have many questions, but this makes me think about a game that's it's called Quitting the Map. I don't know if you know it. It's been in the New York Times and it's been developed here at Concordia, and it's kind of similar.
Yeah.
It's people just signaling spaces or places that they went and stories they had there or people they met. And it's kind of the same idea of, at the end, fostering social connectedness. So I think it's great if you can check that out. I think this is wonderful. I see how this can create the atmosphere of a neighborhood. I'm sad that it's only for Park X because I don't know Park X. I want it for my neighborhood. Yeah. I'm just wondering, what do you think you're gonna do next with this, in terms of generating this social connectedness, or if this is just an artistic project, or how do you see this evolving in the future?
Okay, I'm just gonna full screen this so that we can see it. It was a prototype made for a class, and that allowed me to learn in very short period of time how to do something, how to test something, learn from mistakes, and improve. I know that a friend asked me if we should try to get some money to create something DIY, especially as I was talking with people involved in these topics, housing, memory, displacement of communities, loss of certain communities for Park X. Someone was really ready to do it, but I just moved on to other projects. Life. But the idea is here, and it's such a basic modular thing. Features can be added or removed. Maybe you remove the missions and you just do the stories, and you set it up in another neighborhood or in a country, or for a particular community. Maybe the missing people in Mexico, or queer communities across the globe. So yeah, that is the next step.
Sorry, I don't want too much, but I want to say something else. That's basically at Milieu in the ethnography lab. I don't know if you know the folks at the ethnography lab, but they are doing a project in Park X in the pit. That's the place where they basically put all the waste, snow waste during the winter.
Yeah.
And this tool would be really interesting. Like if you're thinking on them, maybe using this tool to as part of their ethnographic process, because it's also a very ethnographic tool, right? Like you're walking it makes you go out and have that attunement to your environment. That's really interesting. So yeah.
Yeah. And okay, and you mentioned something interesting, walking attunements to the environment. Yes, you feed this game through your experience out there, but it also allows for people to contribute without leaving their home, which is something that I kind of like. This like hybridity between, yes, it's digital, it lives online, but it brings either memories of space, or it forces you to go into space and like walk and interact with others, and you might like find unexpected things, you might fuck it up, you might confuse a story with a mission, but still you are like building it. It gets you like entangled. It gets you in the messiness of things. Yeah, any other comments, questions, etc.
C'est pas vraiment une question, mais j'aimerais t'entendre parler sur le côté archive. Je
Ok.
trouve ça super intéressant comme projet parce que c'est comme si ce quartier-là pouvait exister dans le temps parce que ça crée des liens entre les personnes, puis on voit un peu comment ça disparaît rapidement. Des fois, les gens bougent ou tout ça, donc c'est comme un moyen peut-être de figer quelque chose ou comme juste le côté archive, histoire, qu'est-ce qui reste. Comme peux-tu nous en parler un peu plus par rapport à ton projet?
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, the basic idea of this becoming an archive is that it holds the stories and the pictures and the videos and the sounds that people contribute to. What I was also planning and thinking when I designed this, by making it like so like free to use, is that there is not a single story. Like they can be contradictory, they can like conflict each other. There's also this very like common analogy or visual of the city as palimpsest. So we can see it in like the little posts that hold decades of cultural events in Montreal. Just like you start like peeling layers of like, oh, it seems the Myland was really into poetry this year, or like, oh, the Myland was really into like housing advocacy this year, as you peel. Because like stories are constantly being like written or deleted or overwritten. And sometimes as archaeologists of like urban time, like we don't know what was true, and it's just like this mix of perspectives. So that was also kind of like the idea by just like giving users freedom to just like do and post whatever, linking it to querying the map, the initiative that Ariana mentioned, that Lucas La Rochelle designed. Was that querying the map became a big thing after some conservative people hacked it and started posting like really nasty, oppressive, misogynistic, etc. stories. So yeah, I can say that there's beauty in letting people, in giving people freedom, but also it will pose other challenges of what happens if, or what happens when. Also the idea of like, what is, Park X is a neighborhood. It is built on like a stolen island. It has housed certain communities for years, being displaced by other communities. But what about digital territories? Like, how are those digital territories contested? Is it where the server lives? What is it, So yeah, it's just like, it opens many questions.
Okay, I just was gonna say that maybe we should finish because like we have another talk in 4 minutes. So yeah, final remarks.
True. Thank you. This is the first time that I like co-run it after a bit of time. Yeah, I hope that you enjoy it. Thanks for your attention and your questions and comments. They were amazing. That's me.
Thank you everyone for coming in today. Everyone on Zoom, we're going to be closing up the Zoom and the live stream